Did we just get a standing ovation?
I'm looking at it, and I think we did. I think we did. I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have an actual standing ovation.
Oh man, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. There's a little birdie on the street that says, I'm trying to get my live chat room up here, and there we go.
Well, I apologize for the image quality. I'm sitting in my mom's living room at the moment. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cookie
had surgery yesterday, so I'm down taking care of her.
Oh, there you go. That's nice of you. Oh, everybody likes our Meta trade, Metu trade. I too am enjoying Metu. From just a quickie from trading highlight ticker highlight shows on Mondays. And I don't know, did I pick Facebook as my long this time? I don't think I did. Oh, I picked something else, but I had it last week. So I've been writing some short put spreads in there. And Facebook, but look at Meta go today.
Believe it or not, a lot of people like to use Meta. It's the weirdest thing.
You know what? That is crazy. I can't even believe that people like to use Meta. But today, I think we have, and we have the Fed coming out, so we'll just let everybody know. So the market is going to wish around a little bit.
Yeah.
Every day. Oh, I picked TJX long and Oracle short. Thank you, Rawhide. It took me a while to remember. I still haven't been able to buy any TJX. 100% on METU, though, is pretty good. So, by the way, if you're not on the Ticker Highlight Show, it's on Mondays at 10 o'clock. You should come check it out. Today is a new day. And you know what? We have Frank here for a reason. So generally, when there are, let's just call it, possible things happen in the Capitol, we bring Frank in. But first, I just want to be like, I think we want to talk a little bit about, where the equity markets, why are they acting choppy, right? Because we're in this sort of, is AI going to be the next dot-com bust?
Right.
And I'm curious a little bit on this one, right? So basically here are kind of our topics today. So, AI, our mega caps are in what we'll call, I think they're more in an air pocket than a bubble, mostly because of valuation. And we also have Fed policy transitioning, which is why the market has been wishing around for the last couple days, which the PCE, I think, will answer somewhat on Friday. And then we have something going on in the Department of Defense that's not us blowing, drug boats out of the water or something like that. There's actually new stuff. So we'll call this our siren story of the day from the rooftops. And Frank, can you kind of outline this a little bit for us? Just, so I'll give people, I'll let Frank dig into this. We'll set the stage a little bit. So apparently the Pentagon wants to buy a lot of drones.
A whole lot.
A whole lot of drones. Okay. This is not a, it's not like a pie in the sky thing. Okay. It's literally like, we need you to build a bunch of these now. And I think Frank is going to talk this, but I think the Ukraine war, you have mentioned this a lot, Frank, over the last year in capital gains, by the way, where the Ukraine war has been a test bed for
asymmetry. I would call it a test bed of asymmetry of warfare,
where they're using what, right? Drones, right? And also, you're going to describe to us attributable
Attributable.
Attributable. Can you define that word for our listeners right now?
Sure. It's only used in defense circles. And so they talk about you're going to build attributable technology. And what that basically means is technology you're willing to lose. So it's if you build a one-way attack drone that flies over and blows stuff up, that's attributable. You're willing to sacrifice it. Right. So and it's literally the word doesn't exist in the dictionary. It's literally a made up Pentagon word.
And you think about it, if you're a defense contractor, right? And of all the words you want to hear in your sleep, don't you think attributable? Okay. Don't you want to hear that word the most?
Ribble. You do want to hear it, but I think your comments earlier were the really correct ones, Andrew, and that's Ukraine has taught the world and really our government, the $5,000 toilet seat, $700 hammer government of procurement, that there's Ukraine created an asymmetry of warfare where you can take a $2,500 drone and take out an $18 million helicopter.
Right.
That's an asymmetry that literally goes to the idea of we're not going to win the war. We're going to bankrupt you, right? And then you're not going to be able to fight the war.
Right.
So even if we don't have, as good a technology, we're gonna literally bankrupt you with our crappy technology. And the Defense Department has long struggled with what are called the defense primes. They're the big contractors, your Lockheed Martins of the world. And right. Yes, we are still going to need these big defense projects like building new fighter jets and big ships and things like that. But you're seeing some of those get canceled, by the way. But they really focused on, we need to take this very rapid iteration out of the hands of these legacy defense contractors and give it to smaller, more nimble players. Now, that's going to cause some headaches along the way too that the government's not thinking about. So, right. And this really came out of, I'm sure everyone on this call is familiar with the name Anduril. They're super headline, big defense contractor. I think they've got a $42 billion private valuation at the moment, which is nuts. Started by Palmer Luckey, the guy who invented the VR headsets, went to Facebook. He's a billionaire. And he came out and started this defense contractor company and said, hey, government, you don't need to fund anything. We'll self-fund, and then you just buy all our stuff on the back end. So what he's done is he's just pumping out new technology, not really caring a whole lot about how well it works. And I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure he does, but he's putting a lot of technology out there that's really not working well. But the problem is the Hegseths of the world, the Department of War, as they call it now, of the world, said, what a great model. We don't have to spend any money up front on R&D. We'll just spend the money on the back end to buy your stuff. That's fantastic. Right. So it's really it's made it a tough road for companies like mine, even where we don't have unlimited funds because we're not billionaires yet to self-fund all this R&D. Right. But that's going to be some of the headaches along the way. But the Defense Department has come out and said, we want to pump out drones like Ukraine is. How's Ukraine building drones? They got guys literally on the battlefield picking up pieces, slapping them together with duct tape, because duct tape fixes everything. And they put a grenade. They put a grenade on it and they fly it downrange and blow stuff up. So that's what they want. They want super rapid, super duration, and that plays really well into some of the names that we've talked about. Now, I think we're only supposed to tease a little bit, right? We're not supposed to throw out a lot of names today, but we do have some names that we have that played very well, and I can tell you this move by the government will fit very well into that theme.
So yeah, we don't mind giving out names, right? Okay. Trades, of course, come to capital gains for the option trades and some long-term ideas. But these are names now and they've also had a little bit of a pullback from coming. Now, another thing too is why does this matter for markets now for us? I think the biggest thing, there's a word, I don't know if anybody's familiar with this word, but it's an acronym called TAM, which is Total Available Market. And I remember this word because when I was working with a technology startup, a financial services technology startup, I was going around with NVIDIA salesmen of all. Oh my gosh, I wish my brain would have been woken up. I'm going out with NVIDIA salesmen, right? And what was happening in 2012, or what was it? It was 2010, I believe, where the salesmen are going out and people and customers were linking their GPUs together. So instead of using them for like graphical purposes, they were using them for computing. And all of the salesmen were like, wow, this is increasing our TAM, our total available market, because customers were linking these together in ways, I guess, that the salesmen were surprised about. And it was in my days, it was in finance for option model computing. But if you could describe to people like, okay, what does TAM, total available market, have to do for the drone industry right now?
It's about to get a lot bigger.
All right.
And you got certain players, and again, not to toot our own horn, but Andrew, but the ones that we've been tracking now for a while, and we've made trades around, made money on, and we continue to make some good trades as this kind of news comes out. These are companies that have the ability or are already pipelining the ability to meet this new demand. And so you get in on them now. And as it says, they want to get, the government wants to pay them upon delivery down the road. So as this market expands and these players start filling that addressed demand being put out by the government, they're going to get paid down the road, and that's going to be recognized in earnings, et cetera. But now's the time to jump into those, because they're still, even the next quarter, they might have some negative R&D, right? But that pipeline is being built, and they're building. What I will do is point people to the kinds of drones that will fill these niches. So. Right.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about. So there's a couple of stocks that I think these are kind of stocks that are interesting for the industry, that are investable for the average person. I wanted you to give me your take on these. And you were very early on all of these names for us. And the first one here is, so AVAV is having kind of a decent little day here. But this is what I want.
And they should, by the way.
And this is what I want everybody to notice, right? So there was this drone hype. Like, remember early, beginning of the summer, all that, when we started hearing more on how effective the drones were in the Ukraine war, which might even be why the Russians are coming to the table, because if they unleash the drone horde, I think that could change. But also look at how high AVAV in the summertime was. $400 has pulled back all the way to $260. So it's not these aren't stocks that are not going to have some volatility, right? Of course, my favorite word, I have to bring it in, but they move a little bit. So in capital gains, we keep a list of names that we're interested in. And, when they pull back, that is generally opportunity. So describe AVAV for us a little bit for people, just, so they can get an idea about this particular name.
They are considered a defense prime contractor, Andrew, but they are highly focused. Unlike, some of your really big ones like General Dynamics or others that have, are playing in all different kinds of, military hardware. They focus heavily just on drones and related software technology, and they've been very successful. A lot of people you might see something called a Switchblade 300, 400, 600. AeroVironment puts out the Switchblade drones. They are highly effective. They've been highly successful, very little failure rate, and they've really been adopted by the government. They have a massive contract So they've got a buy on demand contract. And so a lot of times you'll see these big announcements of government contracts, like someone just got awarded a $1.2 billion contract. That's great. It doesn't mean they'll ever see a dime of that $1.2 billion unless some units in the military order the products within the confines of that contract.
Right.
AirVironment has a massive contract, but they are getting the orders to deliver under that contract. So they've got it locked up. They are delivering, and the new orders keep coming in for them. So they are one that is right in that sweet spot of they've got the products, they are getting the orders, they're executing, and they're liked. So kind of the perfect storm for them. And their products they're not on the cheap side. Like a lot of what we're talking about on these drones that the military wants. They want super cheap drones. AirVironment's not super cheap, but they're building legacy systems that are highly effective and well liked. So they're getting the order. So I think they're sitting in a great spot. And obviously, with all this hype around this drone, they're all going to get swept into it.
I think this is just a stock to buy personally. The option trades are fun when we have the opportunities that, where things dip in and out. So part of capital gains is long-term investing. Just let you know, Frank has given me some great names in there over the last two and a half years that have made ridiculous returns. Ridiculous. So part of the appeal, well, we have, like, every service has an indicator, and at Capital Gains, I have Frank. So we're going to just keep rolling with what got us here. Another one, this is a position we're currently long in Capital Gains right now. What can you tell us about KTOS?
You love KTOS.
Yeah.
You absolutely love KTOS. Kratos is actually been around for a while, but they really made a name for themselves building what is called the pilotless wingman drone. So we want to take our people out of harm's way. We want to make our people more effective but safer. So you could have a squadron of, let's say, four fighter jets going into a certain area, or you could have a squadron of one piloted fighter jet and a bunch of pilotless wingman drones that, the ultimate goal is that they act independently. So if you get into a dogfight, for instance, with 4 enemy fighters, these pilotless drones will go and do their own thing and attack and have a little fun. So that is, that's the goal. And Kratos is a leader. They've built drones that have taken off and landed on aircraft carriers. They're doing really cool stuff. And they're one of the leaders, but they've got some competition in that space, obviously. And Anduril is one of them. But as I mentioned earlier, Anduril is making some missteps. They're trying to be too many things to too many different departments within the DoD, and they're allowing tech to leave their shop that's not fully baked. Now, there is some strategy behind that. You do want to give, as a defense contractor, I can tell you, you never give a fully polished product to the end user. You give them a kind of a 3/4 baked product to the end user, and you let them play with it, break it, and they come back and tell you, I like this, I don't like this, do that, don't do this, and then you fully bake your product. So that's kind of what Anduril's doing, to be fair to them. But they're doing too much of it, and they've had some very big headline failures where I think they were not 3/4 baked, they were 2/3 baked or half baked. And so they've had some big failures, and that will certainly bode well internally in the Department of War when people are thinking, all right, Kratos been pretty successful in their tests. Anduril, who are we going to point to? So I think that there could be some inside baseball there on who gets the nod.
Okay. So this is one I have traded this one. This is one of the great return ones. I rode this one from like the mid-20s to over $100. I sold a bunch, and now I'm getting ready to buy some back. So I'm sort of, let's say, reloading the gun, so to speak, on this one. Another one, Nina T says, is there any concern about KTOS's crazy PE ratio? And I think,
it's up there.
It is. However, I think at this point, with what the DoD wants to buy, the DoD wants basically a whole level of demand that KTOS wasn't even producing. So that's why we're talking about TAM and how big it is. And don't forget, in this case, the PE ratio is really high, but the market cap is $12 billion. It's not like it's a $2 trillion company at a 600 PE. It's a company where the whole landscape of it can change very, very fast. So
yeah, and look, and they're sitting, look, they're up, high PE ratio, stock prices, I wouldn't call it low, but they're still sitting in the midpoint between their 52 weeks high and low, right?
Right.
So,
so again, that's why we trade it on. It's still a volatile stock, and we trade it. I think when the news comes out, more news comes out, that would be a good time to lighten up some of your short-term positions, take some money, and then get ready to kind of do it again. Now, here's a stock. Now, this is another one, Frank, you kind of turned us on to, and this one has kind of been sitting sort of in the middle, so to speak, of this whole. This is Red Cat Holdings.
Yep.
This is another one. If you want to talk a little bit more how this one is different from the other two.
Well, so this one is a holding company. So their whole plan has been to acquire privately held companies doing defense, particularly small drones, and to build out a portfolio of companies, of private companies under a public umbrella. They've done very well. They had a lot of money behind them. A bunch of dudes living in Puerto Rico, evading taxes. They're all good guys. But they are what I like about them is their primary product. They now call it the Arachnid line of drones. But what it was, they acquired a company called Teal Drones, and Teal Drones are now their Arachnid line, but are perfectly right in the sweet spot of that DoD order. So the kind of drones that the DoD is looking for, the kind of drones that the DoD wants, they literally want to put a drone in every serviceman and woman's hands. Red Cat, the Teal line, Arachnid line fits perfectly with that.
Right. And they actually have, they're just starting to generate real revenue now. This is the most early stage of the three companies.
Yeah. And look, there's some risk there. They have been the subject of a couple of different lawsuits. So they actually have an ex-employee, the guy who was the CEO of Teal, who came in to Red Cat, was the Red Cat CTO for a while, left, started his own company called Vector, and now Vector is suing Red Cat Red Cat's suing Vector now for IP infringement, and there's all kinds of countersuits and all kinds of crap going on. So, so I think that just adds to the potential volatility, but also upside of Red Cat.
Right. So this is the more speculative of the three. So we wanted to present to you basically the drone story of the three major, I think, trading vehicles as of right now. Now, just a couple other things here. We only have a few more minutes. We want to talk a little bit about, again, Meta is a good example of this. We had that METU trade. Mark did a good job of picking the cheaper 2X on that. So he did a great job of picking that option, by the way. So here is, so this is also part of the AI story, which we believe, and this is kind of, Frank, I wanted you to, I don't think we have an AI bubble because the companies are making huge money. What we do have is high valuations.
Well,
so
we also
have an air pocket.
100%. And we've also I mean, my gosh, you thought the Titanic didn't see much of the iceberg. We see none of the AI iceberg. We are just scratching the surface of AI. And yes, it's got its fingers in a lot of things. So a lot of headlines, a lot of driving of the market. But the use of AI, I don't know how you sit there and say we're in a bubble when AI is. I mean, it's pre-infancy.
Right. Well, another thing too and I think this is a good thing. Like Meta is cutting back on some spending. So some of these AI companies, some of these social media companies, like if they're cutting back on some spending somewhere. Look at how much of a pop we have now. Meta for the first time is now over that. They're filling that gap. They're up over that gap from their earnings. So,
look, the open AI model, a lot of stuff that's going on does concern me in the sense that, you have companies that are contracting for use, and at the same time investing in the companies they're contracting for use with.
Right.
I question the long-term viability of that strategy. It kind of sounds like things we were always taught not to do.
Right.
But that seems to be the model at the moment. But again, I just look at the offshoots of the growth that's going to occur in this, and whether it's small modular reactors or data centers, whatever it is, you're going to have this massive explosion that is going to happen regardless of what headline AI stocks do.
Right, exactly. So you're going to see those come back, but other platforms, and Meta really is more of a beneficiary of that. Yep. Because if there's more competition, then all of a sudden their stuff is going to become cheaper to use. And, so you'll see you'll see pullbacks, obviously, in the big, like the NVIDIAs and things like that. Yep. But other stocks like Meta today is perfect example.
Right. We got 1 minute left, sir.
Yeah, we got 1 minute left. Okay. So the 1 minute left is the Fed. Okay. The Fed is going to try to lower rates next week. We're actually at relatively high rates. I mean, Treasury bonds are down a little bit. But what this means is, and again, maybe you can describe this a little bit, is with lower rates, the Fed can start making money again on their balance sheet.
Fed starts making money, and believe it or not, there's a lot of companies that are impacted by rates.
Right, and so there's a few okay. So what are some okay? Let's look at a couple that are impacted, right? Let's say we'll use let's say DHI, right? Like a home builder.
Yep.
Let's take a look. Now they're already starting to recover on rates. The fact that rates are going down.
A lot of almost any company that is still in a growth phase, call it pre-revenue, whatever it is, rates become huge for them, right? Particularly when they're doing heavy R&D that they're financing. Most of your, I would think a drop in rates. Granted, a company with maybe some good trade news could give some of your critical minerals a boost, because those ones, particularly doing early stage mining or exploration, are heavily dependent on loans and rates. So that could be helpful.
Of course, this is one of our favorite ones, USAR. Frank does have a financial interest in this one, but it's still one. I took delivery of this in capital gains. I finally sold some puts and was assigned. So I am sitting on a good chunk of this now. So it's another one again, mining stocks and commodity stocks could benefit hugely from all this, as well as, let's say, utilities. Now, one utility we have liked, actually, it is getting a little pricey now, but CEG.
Yep.
It's not the cheapest utility, but again, this is when, again, a beneficiary of more nuclear power coming down the road, you're going to see stocks like this do a little better, and lower rates also help these stocks as well. So anyway, so if you like this analysis, okay, we have a little special on capital gains. You can get a little more time. We're going to drop the link in the chat. If you like listening to Frank, you like listening to his, what I would just call is really great insight on where government funds are going, interpreting the law for the market sense, using what's going on in the macro world, like for real trading ideas. That's what we do at Capital Gains. We have a great track record in there. And somebody's dropping a link, hopefully right this second, into the chat for people. If you're not a member of Capital Gains, this is a great time to get in.
They say on one of those games shows, drop that link.
Yes, drop that link. There we go. There we go. Right. So drop the link, check it out. It's not as good as the Monday deal. The Monday deal, Black Friday was the best deal, but it's still a pretty good deal on Capital Gains. And it gives you a chance to make an easy payment plan. And I think any one of these stocks probably would pay for the service.
Look, we're gonna try and make you a little money and have a little fun in the process.
That's true. And also, like in questions, comments on like, okay, how are these government policy affecting the markets? That's what we do there. And I guess with that, check the link out. We're on Tuesdays at 2:00. We get Frank once a week if we're lucky. If not, we get a video of him blowing something up or talking to defense contractors or something along those lines. Yes.
And by the way, I got a lot of fun stuff coming up now in the rest of December, so I'll keep you filled in on that. So.
Oh, that's good. And then when Frank puts his actual day job is trying to get this drone company up and off the ground, which it is now. So he's going around kicking Washington to get interested in the next generation of drones. Was Frank a market maker before going to sea? No, Frank is the only non-market maker here. He was a Washington, D.C. He worked for congressman in D.C. I don't remember which one he worked for, but he was a Capitol Hill staffer when he was a Ute.
When I was wet behind the ears, actually senator. So I worked for a couple of senators. So I was wet behind the ears then, and then I was a D.C. lawyer for many years and went to Wall Street, worked in finance, but not as a market maker.
Right. So that's why he, as an indicator, is I'll just call him as our idea generator. And then my job is to make the trade around it. So if we have an option trade, instead of just buying the stock, we want to always look for, if an option trade where we can make a better, quicker return than just buying the stock, that's what we'll do. Anyway, check out Capital Gains. It is a good special if you missed the Black Friday special. And we gave you some good stocks, Rawhide teaser trade. Join Capital Gains and take a look at the option trades. All right, with that, we are done. All of you enjoy the rest of your day at Option Pit. It's a full day as usual. And if we're lucky, Frank will be back in the State of the Market next week. No guarantees, but he will be in Capital Gains. With that, you guys have a good day.